class, and some of the things the scripture predicts should fully come to pass. Soil that wouldn't bear children, making children to be a part of this growing mass. And I ask, if this is progress, how long will it last? Today, when I look around in the world, what do I see? I see footprints that man have left on the sand while walking through time. I see fruits of our ambition, figment of our imagination, and I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is plain to see, universally this land is not bountiful as it was, simply because in his quest for success, nothing stands in man's way. All rivers run dry, soon the birds will fly, the mountains will be no longer high. And when I really think of it, I just wonder why, oh why. I see charity deplored, equal rights totally ignored, wisdom and ingenuity working in accord, simply to afford such inventions as to nuclear warfare.
Yes, indeed, of course, I present the night to all and century, East, West, and South Central, of French and Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a present good day to you. Yes, so this is, of course, the penultimate to the Sabbatal, I would like to say, because, of course, it is the day just before, of course, I take my break, so to speak. And therefore, of course, on this Thursday night edition of the Corridor Transformation. Indeed, of course, and we have a lot of information for you, especially, of course, with respect to our newly minted or established, of course, what we call employment agency, with, of course, other components. I will show you some of the forms that we have created, or the list of individuals that have already applied. I'll show you it in physical form. I'll ask, of course, my colleague in studio to pass it to me, the entire listing, so that so that you can get an appreciation as to what we have been doing already that could have been done when the PNM was there. Because it's a very simple exercise, but because they are not people-oriented, because they are not concerned about the level of unemployment and the opportunities that, in spite of the economic circumstance, people could have been put here, there, and everywhere. As, of course, whilst the economy may be floundering, there are some segments of the economy that may be, I won't say booming, but certainly would require, of course, additional employees. And therefore, if we had a sensitive government before the 2025 April 28th, the general elections, then all of this could have been taking place. So that it is nothing new. It is nothing spectacular. It is nothing that you need to be an Einstein, or you needed to be a rocket scientist to, of course, recognize and do. But because the lack of empathy, the lack of sympathy, the lack of human understanding, and, of course, care, the Rowley, later Young, and the PNM lack the creativity and the ingenuity to, of course, create something from nothing, except of course some by the sky idea that of course he could do more with less. He told us that in 2015, and then afterwards told us it was an impossible equation for him and for them. Not for, of course, people who have been working in the vineyards over the years and can take little and create some major impact on the society. As I said, I did not take pictures because I didn't want the people to believe this was a gimmick or some kind of public relations stunt. I respect that. But of course, on the next occasion, I will ask them when we have a large amount of applicants, but that has been reflected, of course, in what we have collected so far. So I will, of course, treat with that later down in the program. That being as it may, let us, of course, formally begin. Welcome once again to the Corridor Transformation. Your host, Lennox Smith, and of course, my standard guest, if you want to call that, or co-host, if you want to call him, that doesn't matter, but a businessman who, of course, as he says, has been struggling. And tonight, of course, I will just complete the area where, during the course of COVID, where the government stole. And let me be more euphemistic. Let me put it nicely instead of being euphemistic. Let me put it nicely. The government have not been able to account for the $22 billion that was spent associated with COVID. That's the point I'm making. But in the meantime, of course, let us, of course, formally start the program because it is only here you will get, of course, some what I consider to be realistic and practical information relating, of course, to the community. And right here on George Street, yes, we are, and right in the middle of the community, a community that it has been described by the police as hotspot, but among the so-called hotspots are very ambitious people. All of them, as human beings, all of them need food, shelter, clothing, and entertainment. Let's not waste time with that. And at the same time, as the Bible would say, I thought they say nothing good comes out of Nazareth. Well, of course, there are several Jesus Christ-like individuals who we are going to find and ensure that they are so numerous that the whole question of becoming or naming the area a crime hotspot will be something of the past. Yes, we know we have a task. We have a task. But those of us who are committed and dedicated are up to the task. Welcome once again, all and sundry, to the Corridor Transformation.
And I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is plain to see, universally this land is not bountiful as it was, simply because.
Yes, indeed. We have something playing in the background. We are taping, we are monitoring ourselves, so you'll forgive me for that that echo type emission. But certainly we are in studio. Best take off this one because there's no need for that because we are being monitored on that side. So let me take off this so the system does not carry the burden and the strain that it could easily malfunction. That being as it may, people, of course, as I said, we have, of course, started our first program. Where I'm getting that echo from. All right. Yeah. I see where. Let me just address that. All right. So let me just address it. Good. Right. Get back here, because we have a studio audience and that could, of course, we have another monitor that faces the chairs. Let me show you the chairs that we have and who may be coming in from time to time, so you'll appreciate what is happening. Yes, indeed. You see, oh no, that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing. Let me just get that organized. Yes, indeed. Let me just get that organized. Bam, bam, bam. Take off this, take off that. Right. So, right. There we go. Think of this, right, Bam. Now, you'll have an appreciation as to where the audience will be. We had a couple of people in already. They will be popping in from time to time. But of course, the people are still coming to find out information about the possibility of jobs and the functioning of the employment agency. You see, a lady just came in. So of course, and this is what minutes to 9. Of course, my apology for the tardiness, but that is how it is. We have to be almost 24/7 to generate the transformation that is required in order to treat with, of course, the socio-economic and psycho-cultural, not just reality, but the dynamics that are the realities of these particular type of communities. Again, of course, I am not perturbed. I mean, there are people who are saying that, well, if Philip Alexander got, of course, his place in the Ministry of Housing, what about other partners in the coalition? For example, of course, Love, which of course I'm the political leader, and then of course you have COP as well, Prakash Ramadan, and maybe one can extend it to Roger, who of course is head of the OWTU. So I am not perturbed. It is early days yet. I think it was something like about 4 days, not a full work week as yet. And there are a number of things to be done. Boards are to be appointed, hundreds of individuals are to be attached. So there are other, of course, senators to be appointed. So therefore, it's inside of all of that. I respect, of course, as I told the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar, that of course I am at her disposal. But of course, at the same time, I know that she understands the work that Lennox Smith has been doing in these parts, and therefore I would expect that she would sluggishly fit persons, not just me, but persons who have demonstrated a particular inclination to serve, because not like the wishful thinking of Stuart Young, who says that it is a coalition of self-interest. He is a quintessential self-interest, egotistic, and of course a person who clearly is self-serving, because if that wasn't so, how come he has more recusal record or numbers in the cabinet of the country than anybody else? He has the audacity, the temerity, the gall, and the effrontery to, of course, ascribe or characterize others as that. But let's go straight to the line, because we always give way to the callers. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor, the Thursday night edition. Pleasant good night.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle Lennox, and all your listeners.
Yes, man.
Good night. You hear you good on the television? You come across good?
Good.
But it's only back on the phone, you're songing light.
On the phone? So on the phone is songing light?
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
Yeah,
I can adjust
other than that,
right.
Other than that, the broadcast coming across real good.
Thank you very much, man. Your tenacity and endurance is so to do or to be always produces the desired result. Let's not waste time with that. Yeah, but go ahead, my friend.
So a pleasant good night to all your listeners and sponsors and all right-thinking citizens. So we need the 40,000. Share the life. Let's go up and make it happen. So Uncle Lennox.
Yes.
You are talking about appointment, right?
Yes.
And people asking you what happened or whatever, because they're picking up on the conversation.
Yes.
But I want to ask Stuart Young and this next fella, Brian Manning, right? What appointment they get because in they come back as the deputy chairman unopposed.
Uh-huh.
So I want to know is 6 and 6 is 12 and 1 is 13 to make the crapo.
Deputy or
Yeah.
chairman, because I think
Yeah.
that Dolly woman who like to play that she's a
Dolly,
physical
yeah.
Dolly, she is vice chairman, I believe. So he is chairman.
Yeah.
Right, go ahead. I just want to make sure that we clear that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now that is 12 and 1 is 13. So I just asked him now if there is a crapo. Eric William always talk about in the tie. That they will put a crapo in the tie and people vote for them.
All right,
Because they can't get themselves in order to say, because I don't see that Brian Manning want to bring back a way to benefit him by delegates and not facing one man, one vote, because they know the leadership, they want it bad. But why is they making this sort of mischief with my esteemed political leader? Look, she exposed certain things that is why the citizens and the supporters of the PNM was treated and buffed for the last 10 years. The evidence is there now. And I'm glad that the people who changed from the PNM and moved them just in time, that we have a little sanity to save ourselves. So, Mr. Lennox, we know that who is toiled in the vineyard and in the trenches will be rewarded, because this political entity called United National Congress, there's always appreciate the hard workers and them. So I have more to say, but I just wanted to tell you how we come across live and nice and you're on. So a pleasant good night.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Of course, and let me say categorically, and I mean with some degree of pride and boastfulness, that you can get us on corridor transformation. So we have made it very, very simple. Corridor transformation. You log into corridor transformation on YouTube, and you will get us right now. So share as you wish, because you have no impediment or no obstacle in your way. And then of course on Facebook you can get us right now on, of course, Alfred John. Do not go on corridor transformation. Do not log on to corridor transformation. You will be bombarded with a set of lewd and salacious, of course, videos. I don't know who was so malicious and who was so sick. I mean, to, of course, hack into our page and then, of course, begin to use it for what I consider to be licentious and sexual exploitative reasons. We are not on that. What we are on is development. So if you go on Facebook and you accidentally would have logged on to corridor transformation and you see that, bet your bottom dollar it is not, of course, the true corridor transformation. It is not of Lennox Smith. It is not, of course, of my staff and those who are associated. But however, if you go on and log on to, of course, Alfred John, you will see us live in our developmental, what I consider to be, mood. Indeed, of course, as I was projecting earlier, look, this is, of course, we have color coded. We have color coded, of course, if it is green, you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't see it, but this is green. You will see it kind of transparent. But this is green because of our background. We have, of course, a green background that would, of course, accommodate the background that you are seeing us in at this point in time. A beautiful house with, of course, a beautiful lights and aesthetic. But so this is green. And this one, of course, speaks to the resource center. So we have a resource center here for community assistance listing. This is a community assistance listing. So there are a lot of people who, of course, still want food cards and public assistance and so on. So this is a particular list. And I mean, it is thick. It is thick. And that could have been done under the PNM by somebody who could take initiative. Why it wasn't done? Why it wasn't done? And then, of course, we have this one as well. It's color coded. And here we have, of course, a resource. Again, this one is for employment agency listing. Employment agency listing. Yes, indeed, we are on air. So You have to be very silent, right? To talk to your people if you want. All right. After, they are new to this, so therefore we have to sometimes, of course, pause and give some instructions as to how to conduct themselves in a situation like that. I will show you just now what is happening on the floor in front of us. But let me just complete the listing. So this one is about, of course, for employment. This one is for employment, general employment, public sector, private sector, and anything in between, wherever the opportunities are. And I want to tell the private sector, and I want to tell, of course, those state agencies that if you have vacancies of whatever kind, we will be approaching you, one, and two, if you have, you can approach us, because the number that you're seeing coming across the screen, you can now, of course, call me personally. I will take that responsibility. Of course, the number is 337-6940, 337-6940. And don't forget that the responsibility for mitigating and for reducing, particularly among the young people, some 40,000 of them will be leaving school in July, about two months from now. I want to tell you that 14,000 will meet up the 14,000 that left school last year and the year before and the year before. So understand the crisis, and therefore the possibility would be enhanced for home invasions, for crime and criminality, for young people seeing gun toting and utilizing thereof and robbing people as a viable option so that they could eat, because every human being must eat, that they must find a place to stay or live, and they must, of course, wear clothes, and there must be entertainment, especially in these high-pressured circumstances of modern-day living. So that is this color here is relating, of course, to, as I said, employment, and then we have another one, a blue-colored one. At least you can see that clearly on the screen. And then this one relates to all the employers, whether it be state, whether it be government. I am making state as distinct from government in the context of state enterprises, whether it be Unicoto, whether it be East Port of Spain Development Company, whether it be Primdeco, etc., and of course, whether it be what is considered to be some of the statutory institutions, such as the regional corporations, whether it be Port of Spain, whether it be Lavatil, whether it be Tonapuna, and we can go on and on. We want all and such, because the responsibility of addressing the social issues and the difficulties that the country is facing relies on all of us. And if it is that all of these institutions can play a part in reducing at least the unemployment situation, or put another way, that you provide an opportunity for these people to get money in their pockets by way of a wage or salary, and then it means, therefore, we will be well on our way to solving most of the social issues that have been plaguing Trinidad and Tobago, particularly with a myopic and a destitute, I should say, a government that had plenty, billions of dollars, and we're going to discuss that, but the fact at their disposal, but the fact is that people are more poor than they have ever been, because in spite of all of that, as the saying goes, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty, and they have made the people thirsty, and as a consequence, they were voted out on the 28th of April, and therefore we, as patriotic citizens, must now, of course, take charge and make certain that we deliver what we say we will. After all, when the UNC, Kamala Prasad Bisasa, the coalition of interest wins, everybody blasted wins. Right? Okay, we have, of course, with me my deputy political leader, Dada Gabriel, and of course he will be making his introductory remarks. I thought that was important, and in the meantime, too, I will switch the camera from time to time so that you can see who are in our audience. We have, of course, a monitor just on the left of me, on my left, where, of course, you can see what is happening on screen here at this monitor. Go ahead, Dada. I'll come a little closer to the mic, man. By now, you should be an expert in this, man. Now, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Forget the talk. Let's go, man. There's action here. Let's go.
Pleasant night, everybody. Pleasant night. I come to report listen to me, my honorable political leader, Mr. Lennox Smith, to come and Mr. the Honorable SC, Prime Minister, well speech today at the cabinet. First time a cabinet hold that everybody responsible. That's the first thing. My honorable political leader.
Now, watch it, don't watch me, watch the camera.
My political leader, I tell him my face to you because
Watch the camera.
so songed that the cabinet was surrounding her and supporting her.
Right.
And I feel like she's a giant, right? You talk about Lavender and East. I know they said matic and they said tactic and all kind of words you will use. You will use that. I have a meeting with the Ministry of Labor yesterday.
Yes.
And
the ministry or the minister?
the Minister of Labor.
Minister of Labor, talk them, man.
No,
Yes,
I
man,
said
let's
this
say
because
that.
I want to say one of big words too.
I do.
I want to use big words, but I cannot use the big words.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Right? It's so fatigatic and fastatic and all these things that he ready to work with us. Right?
And tell us what is the result? What is
The
basic
result is
there?
that PNM leave Ministry of Labor in a disaster state. Right? He don't have a chair to sit down on.
Yeah, that's what he told him, you know. I sent the deputy political leader to meet with Mr. Batiste, Mr. Leroy Batiste, the newly minted, of course, Minister of Labor. And of course, he put out everybody, I want to say, from his office to accommodate, of course, the representative of love. After all, we are colleagues in the coalition, and that level of respect. And of course, that will be reciprocated when, of course, we meet with him. Let me not say it. Give them the news.
You excited, Lennox. You too excited.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Oh
Give them the news. Give them the news.
He don't have a chair. He showed me they bring a staff chair for him to sit down.
Camera. Yes.
For him to sit down. And I said, Mr. Boss, is we in charge now? He said, Mr. Gabriel, he can't find the vault of money in this place. He can't find nothing. And Mr. Batiste said out his all regrets and his heart hurt that 10 years we was in power and nothing done in Hayat. In Hayat, you know.
He's referring, of course, to the towers. I think it's Tower D or something.
Yeah, Tower D.
Yeah.
I just call it
next to the
Hayat.
Hyatt, yes. So we have to be careful because we don't want to give the Hyatt any bad name on this program. Go ahead.
My political leader, it hurt me to see. I went to a meeting and my ministers, on a chair like mine.
I see. It's not bad. It's something like, of course, the Whitehall. Whitehall.
One more.
Whitehall is decrepit. Almost I don't want to say it, but let me don't identify any particular area. But certainly it's like a shantytown setting. But of course we have a very important engagement next week.
When we sit down
coming
and
out
speak
of that meeting.
on a business note now,
Yeah. I don't
he's ready.
want too much on it.
He ready to work with us. He's participating.
Right.
We have a meeting with him for 2 o'clock on Wednesday. That before item, Lennox will show you the blue, the green, the orange to start to work with. He is on board with it.
In other words, the employment agency that we have created, starting of course on George Street for East Port of Spain, and we will be moving into other communities, but along the East-West corridor, and maybe as far our geographic limit may well be Malik to the east, and maybe Diego Martin in the west, depending, because we have to be real. There are borderline issues. There are other issues that where people cannot travel beyond their particular, what I consider to be domain or precinct, and therefore all those. You see, a government has a responsibility, and its operatives and its agents to understand these factors. And therefore, what you're going to do, because if you don't acknowledge the borderline, and you then tell people, well, listen, no matter where you live in, you have to come here in order for you to work. What are you doing? You are not naively exacerbating the debt, the potential debt and crime and criminality and murders in the country. That is what you have to be sensitive about. What my experience with the PNM has been, that listen, if I give you a job, no matter where the job is, you must go. You must go because that is where the job is. Without considering those other variables that could render the provision of that job null and void and of no effect. In other words, the objective of generating employment would be defeated because you may not have an employee to employ, or the business itself, because of employing a particular individual, may close down because of the violence that may be conducted on their premises, and customers may lose faith, and therefore the business itself, because without customers you really don't have a business, and therefore of course your business will have to be in jeopardy. Go ahead, my friend. I thought I should make that intervention. Yes.
Leader.
All right, okay, we go to the lines. The lines are always, of course, of paramount. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome
Yes,
to the corridor.
hello, good night.
Oh, good night.
You hear me clearly?
Loud and clear, my dear. I hope you are seeing us and hearing us
All right.
equally.
Listening to you all concerning the employment.
Yes.
Let's look at the private sector with
Yes.
these foreign investors.
Uh-huh.
We want to look at the Chinese
Go ahead.
and the Syrians who come here with
Yes.
these, little establishments they have where they will employ people, but not the locals.
Yes.
I
go
want
ahead.
to hear what is your solution to that, where they're not employing the locals and they're taking the migrants.
Magnificent.
We have a problem there because how these people employing the migrants, they're not paying the national insurance, etc., for these migrants, so it makes it cheaper for them. So, as you know, in these sectors, it have a lot of employment for, uneducated citizens. We don't want to only look at the corporation, but we must remember these foreign investors who eaten off of the country. So I want to hear what is your solution with these people employing the migrants. Let me hear what is your solution,
right,
so
thank
that
you very
our
much, sir.
local young citizens
Can
will
get an
get jobs.
opportunity in these areas.
I'm listening.
Very good question indeed. But I want to tell you the very fact that we are discussing that matter tonight, and the very fact that we have put out overture to the world that this situation is one where young people from places like these are not being employed because of their place of residence. But there is that other factor that you mentioned, that businessmen are preferred to gravitate to these migrant workers for obvious reasons. They are business people. But I want to tell you that the government has a policy, and of course the government, in terms of its various policies, do not work in isolation. Is a symbiotic situation, not like the PNM. They of course impose taxes, whether it be property tax, or whether it be increasing electricity, water, etc., on the person that has a single salary, and makes three different arguments for the advancement of that tax without considering that it's coming from the same pocket. I have made that argument before, but so the point I'm making here is that it is clear that the policy in relation to, of course, the migrants is clear, and it was stated on the campaign trail that those who do not belong here will be deported. So we are clear. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it, of course, is that when we come at programs like these and tell the business people who are so inclined, and tell them that they are unpatriotic, and that these people can equally work for a decent day's pay, even though, of course, they may be getting an advantage in that they do not have to pay national insurance. I'm sure the government will be sensitive to that. Other than that, you will not be able to tell a businessman where he can cut costs, where his profitability can be increased by, of course, not paying certain, let's say, expenditure, paying certain expenditure or engaging in certain expenditure. You can't tell him not to employ the migrants and them. So, to answer your question directly, one, the whole question of exposing them and the unpatriotic nature. Two, we will rely on the policy of the government to repatriate, if you want to call it that, or to cause these people to go back to their respective countries. And of course, thirdly, we expect that the people who we send to be employed in these establishments will do what is required. In other words, they will not be delinquent, they won't cost and so on. And therefore, built into our own program here is what I consider to be a riot act formula, where, of course, they will have to, of course, obey the rules and work for a decent day's pay, as well as the respect that is required and expected of the employer. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead. That's a good
Hello,
night. Go ahead.
Lennox.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Something come to me.
Go ahead.
I want to forget. This is why I call back in.
No problem. It's just
I have to load on my device here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, the lady said that she is going to deport the migrants who don't have their documents in order, right?
That's right, yes.
Well, we know that part, okay?
Right.
That comment, you mentioned that.
Yes.
But you was just saying that the owners of these businesses will have to comply with employing these young people who looking for jobs,
Because
right?
you have exposed them.
But what I want to say is that we should make it law. There is a discussion we have in Mr. Lennox.
Yes, of course.
I find it should be law, something strict, that if they don't comply, these business owners, by not hiring our local citizens, they would be fined, because we need money. We have to do like Trump.
Yeah.
You understand me, Lennox? We're doing like Trump. We need money.
Right.
And
Well said.
as I say, if they don't pay, they don't hire, it will have checks.
Yes.
It have checks where, immigration staff moving around and they go into establishments. We're making a serious crackdown on things, Lennox. I think
Beautiful.
we should do that.
No,
so that this country could gain some money.
I concur.
And it should be law that this is something I mentioned before, with these migrants being employed in our in the job
this
place,
country. Yes, go ahead.
where the oh gosh, what I want to say. What I'm saying is that it should be law that when they have a staff, it should be like 70 or 80% of the staff should be local. Because
beautiful suggestion.
I know a place, I want to call the country, where they have migrants and foreign investors, and there is law that they couldn't employ their own citizens and not employ citizens from the country. They had to comply, but by having at least 50-50. But I say here in Trinidad, due to the high employment rate, they should have at least 80% staff local, and whoever after, okay.
Yeah. All right. Of course, Guyana has such a policy. That's why Trinidadians are not so keen.
Guyana, what you said?
Guyana has such a policy. Guyana has such a
okay.
provision. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, that place flooded with Trinidadians.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Okay then.
So they appreciate it. Thanks very much. Yes, indeed. Of course, go ahead. You have an input to make. I see you wanted to, of course, to make an input in that particular area that she raised. Go ahead, Political Deputy.
All I really want to say is that employment in Port of Spain will be rising as soon next 2 to 3 weeks, in coming weeks, right? On behalf of Ms. Venezuela News, or One News that's now there.
Yeah, the caller made a point, yeah. For several points, yes.
I travel majority of the world. People working in or out is not the problem. It's what status you have. So you raise a point about private business having people working, the Venezuelans working in Trinidad and Tobago, is not the problem. One daddy status 10 years ago, Rowley get them ID card. We will fix it now, but it's not no problem. They're doing a great job. I have no problem in them working. Right, my political leader? Right? They're doing a great job. They come to work and they do that job in the private sector. They ain't working in government sector. But other than that, all I have to say is next week we have other things on the table to lay for the people of Port of Spain and East Port of Spain. And I will lay it on the table next week. Other than that,
you have a meeting on a particular day with the minister in what I consider to be his sub-ministerial office, right at the top of George Street here on Duke Street. Just give us a little hint as to what is expected
right.
there.
First thing first, we have to go and find out what the local government center on the street have reminded about employment, Canadian appointment, and these sort of things. So first thing on our agenda is when we meet with the minister, me and you, the political leader, and we adjust this program, then we will go forward.
Okay. So in other words, then it is to augment what we already have,
And
of course, and match it, of course, potential employees with, of course, current or existing employers, and it extends to international as well, because we are looking at what is called the apple picking program that is in the that is, of course, in Canada, etc., etc. All right, so that is where we are. Thank you very much, of course, for that intervention, my friend. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Lennox, scan again.
Yes, man. Go ahead.
Lennox, I'll be listening. I'll be listening. And a good night to everybody in the chat, and Lennox
Yes,
and
man.
everybody
Yes.
else.
Same to you, my friend. Go ahead.
We are good. I was listening to Arima. That's a good idea. But I will tell you what.
Yes.
In the United States, when a migrant, immigrant come to this country and
Right.
they don't have proper documents,
Right.
what they do is to give them a tax ID number. What they do now, they're working on that tax ID number and they pay taxes. But they don't have benefits. They don't have the benefits of returning the tax.
Oh, I see.
But they're working until they get the other stuff for the papers and they apply for whatever. But meanwhile, the employer employ them and pay these taxes. But they do not get benefits.
So these immigrant workers are tax-paying people.
So
they're
I understand what
tax.
Mr. Rima saying.
Right.
But what Trinidad is doing, they're hiring these migrants and they're not paying nothing.
They're paying nothing, yeah.
Contribute to
But
the Trinidad and Tobago the tax.
You know that all of us are entrapped with VAT. So they will have to pay the VAT whether they like it or not. Since it is not a separate tax, it is a tax on, of course, the service that would have, or the goods that would have been provided. So they ain't getting away from that one. But certainly in terms of national insurance and in terms of other benefits that on the other side, because if they are paying national insurance, and then of course they could get compensated for injury, they could get compensated, of course, for being pregnant and all of that. So there is a set off, there is a balancing act, so to speak. On the one hand, yes, they may not be paying national insurance, etc., but on the other hand, they have no benefit. However, they could go free to our hospitals and make children, and if they get
but you know, they using the benefits.
It's a very complex situation, but go ahead, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Lennox, but using the benefits of the parent must go to the doctor, must go to the hospital, whatever.
To the citizens, yes.
Right, but at least the employer should have a system that they're taking out taxes or NIS, or you call it for you all, and put it against, you know.
So you are proposing the American model that we should adopt.
And that's fair enough.
Okay, all right. Oh, yeah. All right.
All right, so until they can get themselves straight now, they can't come in up there and live for free, and they use the facilities like the hospital, because other people pay taxes and people you have to lose the benefit.
Yeah.
At least they contributed to something against, you know, Trinidad and Tobago, paying tax, but you can't live for free just so and paying tax free and getting money under the table like that. Right? They work like that.
Yeah. All right, I hear you, my friend. I hear you. Thanks very much.
All right. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, caller. Of course, that's a caller from the United States who is proposing, of course, the American model. Who is proposing the American model in terms of treating with migrants that may come into this country and, of course, are being employed. But, of course, we are aware that they don't pay national insurance, etc., and that's a benefit. But on the other hand, we have identified the disadvantage there because they wouldn't be able to benefit from things that people who are paying national insurance will benefit from. Go ahead, my friend. Yes.
Yeah, man, Mr. Lennox. People are having a problem with the migrants and them, right?
Mm.
I don't have no problem seeing it because the migrants and more majority lies on the private sectors, not the government, right? But remember, the last regime had a 10 years program for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we know after put things in place to change it. So it's 1 week, as my leader said, it's 1 week. So all of us wait until my political leader, SC, the Honorable Kamala Bisasa, address it, and then we will talk about it. But it's 1 week, 10 years, they stay here. Remember, them at 45 minutes away from the border. So there is something we have to address seriously to we nation.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there you want to leave or you?
Yeah, I have to step out.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, no problem. Of course, we will re-invite our resident, I should say, businessman, who of course is a staple on the corridor transformation. So thanks very much, Deputy Political Leader, for your input in this discussion. Because it's a serious discussion. Because remember, we have established, of course, employment agency, and we would want as much local, because it is for locals. It is not for, of course, the foreigners who have migrated here. And I want to say as well that while some people may take advantage in terms of the business community, and yes, they can't work in the public sector, they work in the private sector, but nonetheless, there are persons who are unemployed that would be able to utilize the jobs that are being offered in the private sector as well. And therefore, if you are a patriot, you would want to see more people accessing private sector opportunities than, of course, anybody else. And I say so very broadly. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Of course, we have our caller from Point 14. Go ahead, Point 14.
Hey, Lennox Smith, a pleasant good night to you and your guests and everybody on the line. A pleasant good night.
Same to you, my friend.
Well, Lennox,
Yes.
you see the migrant situation we have in Trinidad, we really and truly let take a look at this. Here is why.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, when I was in Canada,
Uh-huh.
I went and did a little training in operating the forklift and stuff and things across.
Okay.
And one of my relatives do over my resume and stuff, and they sent it to hundreds of employers because me and it had plenty job
Oh, yeah,
opportunities
yeah.
and things
There's
across.
millions of people you're talking about. But go ahead, yes.
And when I get the kind of response that I get in terms of getting a job and things across the, you know what it was, you know what was fault time? I didn't have a work permit. And
Yeah,
in
to work
order
in
for
that
you
country, yeah.
to get a work permit, you have to get a job offer. And in order for you to get a job offer, the company who have to give you that job offer have to show the Canadian government that this person who they're going and hire, this outsider who they're going and hire, they have nobody in the country qualified enough to do that job, or nobody in the country don't want to do that job. That is why I had the farm programming, because the locals and them don't really do that
Right.
particular job just so. So that is why the government that's working with other countries to put things in place to have these migrant workers in their country. Trinidad have to do the same thing, because you can't just take jobs from people who could do it here and give it to outsiders. Just so they have to put a system in place for that, right? Because most of these jobs I see, these financial industry, they have a lot of people locally could do it. But what these private sector is doing now, they're underpaying these people and them, and they want we, the local, to accept that low wage payment that they're giving the migrants, and that can't work. That cannot work. So this government has to put something in place and make sure that they secure our local schools in terms of employment, and then we go forward. Locked on and listen.
Thank you very much. A very interesting development. I want to hear your comments first before, of course, I give my own assessment as to that particular area that the caller just spoke of. Go ahead.
Good night, everybody. I see in the topic from outside, you know. It's something we are looking very carefully, and as Trinidad and Tobago, we have to listen to this and take this very seriously. Now, I ain't talking about Venezuela, no, I'm talking about all the country, all the rest of people who come to make resident in the country. It's something we have to look at very carefully, because I have a brother. My brother going in St. Vincent.
Right.
He from Trinidad and Tobago. He going in St. Vincent to work.
Right.
And before he work, he had to come back and get a job, what do you call it?
A work permit.
A work permit.
Yeah.
Before he start to work in St. Vincent. Right, St. Vincent there. You can't jump just so and say, yeah, man, you go in and work, and your talent, it's so good, it's inhabited in St. Vincent, so your talent is so good, you have to get a work permit. So, I watching at this migration from other countries who come in our country. Imagine this. Since Ghana come back with oil, everybody leaving, all them Ghanaians going back home.
Yes.
All them Ghanaians going back home. We used to leave them, they eat, their belly full, they open business, they open all kind of thing, and their belly full, plenty of them going back home.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I ain't get that wrong, you know.
Why not?
I ain't going to have a better incentive.
Things have changed.
It have a better incentive in them country.
Well, then, yeah.
You understand? But why I say now, we have to do something about this thing, because plenty people locally could get employment, not getting employment. And they're using them people and getting cheap labor, and they're using them, they're using the workforce in that way. And we who know what we labor cost, we sweat and tears cost, they're breaking it down to we can't get work. Then rather pick the penny. Or the some nation, other nation country outside it, so they know that they're not paying taxes. They can, the businessmen and them can hide them in the business because they're not paying taxes for them. And it's something going on for the longest while in our country, slipping through the backbone, and nobody is looking at it. So I believe under my party, I feel we should look about this very carefully, because you can't go to America and do that. You can't go to Canada and do that. You can't go nowhere in the Caribbean and do that. Why? We sweet TNT, we taking all the bunks. We are all our belly.
Yeah, but of course, there are about 3 issues that has emerged from the introduction of the Canadian scenario, and indeed the Caribbean scenario that was introduced by yourself in terms of St. Vincent. So let me take the last one first. We have, you see, and it is important because I want to drill it back to our own system here. Let's say our attempt to generate as much employment opportunities as possible via, of course, this resource center, what I consider to be employment agency, right? So, and when he spoke about St. Vincent, immediately came to my mind is the whole question of the arrangement with CARICOM. You see, CARICOM has an arrangement for the free movement of labor in this arrangement. So it appears that if it is that a local or anybody coming off the street in East Port of Spain want to be employed, let's say, in one of the Caribbean countries, they must be familiar with the rules and the laws. So we'll look at that after this call. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night. Good night. Good night, Lennox. Good night to your guest.
Yes.
Good night. He mentioned, the guest mentioned something that concerning that raised how I should say a point where he was saying that the jobs and them being given to different how you call it, the different people coming from different areas, right?
Yes, different countries.
No,
Yes,
what is he? I think we should be doing is either setting up or getting some unit to go to these places now and start requesting certain documents that these people and them don't have. In other words, then a Trinidad ID card or something, because I mean, look. I mean, the people in Laventille, I'm just using as an example, I don't mean specifically Laventille, but I'm talking about the whole Trinidad and Tobago. Imagine that you working hard, and when you look across now, you're seeing a different group getting less money, and you know you qualify to get that job done. And you work your tail off from since you're small to adult to make sure and get everything done right, and you're not getting paid for it. So I mean, I'm just saying, cheap labor and things had to get stamped out because Trinidadians has to come first. You know, so I think he on the right path there. We should get some kind of organization, some unit or something, just go around checking, you know, in certain jobs, like some construction jobs, and them going on their site, making sure everybody, you know, illegally or whatever the case may be, and start from there. Because we need to put back our Trinidadians to work. You understand? Because we're not getting the jobs that they require. All right? So I just piggybacking on what it is he's saying, it really makes sense, and I think I agree with him concerning that, you know.
Thank you very much.
We have the jobs, but just we can't get to it. And that is the whole thing. We can't get to it. All right, Lennox, I'll stay on.
Go ahead.
Well, yes, this is why speaking about cola, you know, I mean, is exactly what I'm speaking about. We have the jobs out there, but the foreigner, cheap labor, getting the benefit of everything. Because you as a contractor, you know the maximum rate is $20 hour. You will chop it down to 10 or 12. You know, and it have people glad for that because there is migrant. You understand? They're glad for that. So you beating people all around anyhow you take. You ain't stand a chance. So the best thing is for we know as a government is to put things in place for that. Check every businesses, every construction site, every restaurant opening. You understand? Make sure people have the thing. Because remember this, before I cut off, remember this, they're getting free ID, they're getting ID card. You know? They're getting ID card. So at the ending of the day, we have something we have to put in place. Because our ID card is very essential for we and for people in our country who are resident in our country. ID card is very important. So we had to tighten up on our system for our, because like I listened to Miss Kamala today, and she say we know this is going to happen to us before we come in to power. Even this month is $4 billion. Is $4 billion. It just for this month. So it have things now we can really tighten up and look at to help our finance minister and our prime minister, and to help our country to have certain things we could get into to really cover them track, because we can't, right now we set up an agency and we need them help, and if we need them help, you understand, it has certain system have to tighten up. And that's all I had to say right now.
Yes, indeed. So I was making a point that there are three areas I think it would have been touched on, but very I consider be in passing or in the mix, because I was making a point that here it is, there are arrangements with CARICOM. So a fella from Eastport has been here on George Street, for example, wants or get an opportunity to work in, let's say, St. Vincent, Grenada, and so on. He must be familiar, of course, with the rules, the CARICOM rules of a free movement of labor. That is no what I consider to be hairy-fairy or any imaginary scenario, but you have to know. And when you know, you are able, of course, to put your house in order here before you go across there to take advantage of the job opportunity that is available. Of course, no, I would tell that guy, but with the free movement of labor, you don't need a work permit once you are coming from a member state of CARICOM. And if you are not familiar, that is why we have to, of course, train these young people and to maybe, in a sense, communicate with the employer in Grenada, St. Vincent, as the case may be, beforehand, so that when that person goes, if there is a requirement because of the speciality or the special circumstances of that particular job or area of activity, then of course they will get that. But to go there and of course shooting in the dark, so to speak, it ought not to be an option, because the cost alone, going there, coming back, and then of course the time it will take here to get a work permit to go back there, it means therefore the job may well be lost to someone else, whether local or otherwise. So I thought I should mention that. But most importantly, I think the caller that raised the Canadian scenario has to be looked at very carefully, because here it is, he was saying that in Canada, jobs that people don't want. But in Trinidad, almost every job locals would gravitate to, whether it be selling chicken and chips, whether it be a cloth store, etc., or whether it be on a job site, a construction site. So it's a different scenario in the context of Trinidad, where there are no clear lines that people do not want to engage in a particular job. For example, at one time, I remember when I was growing up, the African community never wanted, of course, to sweep the streets, and the Indians were doing that. I mean, I'm not here projecting or in any way connotating any racial overtone or any racial agenda, but the fact of the matter is that that was so. But these Indians were Trinidadians, and they therefore would be gravitating to those particular jobs. That is the internal arrangement. But it never meant that the Trinidadians who may be an Indian or African didn't want the job. So every single job, if we assume that every single job in Trinidad, African wants, then an Indian wants, and a Trinidadian wants, then it means therefore we really have no job for outsiders, and to give them an unfair advantage, where of course not only the employer will not pay insurance, but they could make an arrangement and you could put how much agency you want. If them people are working for $10, are prepared to work for $10, when they look at their circumstance, no agency could get them to say they're working for 10. If the arrangement is that it's $10 in reality, but the minimum wage per hour is $20, bet your bottom dollar when the so-called agent come, they go say they're working for $20, because that is the arrangement. Otherwise, they lose the $10 that they were prepared in reality to work for. So we understand that. So what has to happen clearly is what Kamala Prasad Bisasa they propose. Those who are here illegitimately, those who are here illegally, must therefore be pulled out of the scenario. That's the first thing. So you reduce the amount of persons that are prepared to work for sub minimum wage and in substandards, and of course the employer getting the benefit of insurance. So what do? You either impose insurance on them as well, so that you equal the playing field, because at any rate, the same employee, the immigrant employee, will have the benefits just as every Trinbagonian, to use the hospital, to go to the licensing office for one transaction or the other, to go to the various institutions that provide assistance, maybe welfare. I think you have to be a Trinidadian to be on welfare. So they may not be able to access that, but certainly in terms of the hospital, I know that water, pipe-borne water, for example, of course, in circumstances where they have to pay rent and so on, well, of course, the employer indirectly, or should I say the owner of the property indirectly will be paid, of course, the water rates for that particular premises. So they're paying to use the water in essence, just as any one of us. But the point I am making, to eliminate all of that, first and foremost, you get rid of the excess baggage, and then of course you ask the employer to, of course, pay the national insurance as normal for their employees. In that way, the locals, the true Trinbagonians, will then be able to compete with these people. Of course, you can't compete with them if they are prepared, of course, to work for $10 and say that they're working for 20. That's a different scenario altogether. But I'm just saying that those are the things that would have to be considered and have confronted us. But of course, right here in the center itself, we will be looking at all of it. No, this is not a place for any migrant to come to look for work. I can assure you of that. It's only bona fide Trinbagonians. You have any comment to make before, of course, we move forward?
Well, I have to say about that, because we had to get our house in order, 'cause People coming in our back door by the boatload. And, you know, I mean, they're just finding residents in our country. They're slowing down the workforce in our country, and the local is getting problem. Also, the waterfront have to see about, we have to tighten up our system, you know what I mean, because plenty drugs, plenty guns, plenty people coming in our country and making our country a bad place.
But of course, we have a minister now of Homeland Security, and there is another one for the borders. I cannot, the actual name of that ministry has slipped me, but I think Homeland Security is for Alexander, and the border is for who's this? Sturge. Will Sturge has that responsibility. So the government has realized that our borders are porous. We have a situation with respect to Venezuela in particular, and of that 27 million people that is supposed to be the population of Venezuela, over 4 million has migrated because of the harsh and the evil regime that is the Maduro regime. And many of them not only have found themselves in neighboring South American countries such as Brazil, Argentina, Chile, etc., but they have found themselves also in Guyana. Well, Guyana is part of South America, but certainly on the island of Trinidad and Tobago, and up the other islands, Grenada, etc. I'm sure that they will have found themselves, including, of course, finding their way to the United States, moving north.
As I say just now, you know, we have CARICOM in the Caribbean. We have CARICOM in the Caribbean, and we respect that. I respect that too. As a trend big on. I respect that, and I believe it have people coming in our waters, people dying in our waters, trying to make it to Trinidad. Drugs are found in our waters. People migrating in a big way.
Yeah, well, border security.
Yes, and the border security.
A standalone ministry is intended, of course, to address that.
I don't know if people getting bought or some kind of thing to make this thing happen in our country, because we had to look at that very carefully. We had to look at that.
People, of course, the lines are open. The line is open, of course, 337-6940. I see that there seems to be the conversation will be so, what I consider to be intense, that of course people prefer to listen rather than make their input. But of course, you are invited to interrupt at any time if you have an idea and so on. So of course, the number to call, of course, is screening across the screen, and that is of say 337-6940, 337-6940, so that of course you can make your input. Unless of course, and I've seen it already when the conversation is so intense by of course the panelists, that people prefer to listen at this point in time to see what would emerge and to formulate their own, and use that as a basis to formulate one's own idea before they call it. But we will finish at 10 o'clock, even though we started late. I want to tell you that one time. So if you have to call, you better call now. Go ahead, my friend. You have another issue you want to raise?
You know, as you say, you know, it's not about, it's about helping people, and politics is a part, but we had to find certain issue to really fix our problem in Trinidad and Tobago. We know that we have a regime who cry we down to a certain level in our country, and now our party, UNC, with Ms. Kamala Prasad and she team, we knowing then they have to get certain put aside, and she said she will find the money with she team to make sure everything okay with us in our country, but we still have to get certain certain things to help her to build
Let's
our
go to
country.
the lines. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, Lennox, good night
Yes.
again. Good night
Well,
again. I
yes.
just wanted to find out something here. If we thinking about doing something, and I believe that we could use the catchment idea of this rainwater and the flooding to actually use it in the Southland, in border Spain, all the areas that flooded, and use a catchment and catch these water so that we have less flooding, and we can either send it to the dams or recycling plant or whatever the case may be, and filter it back into the water system. So I just hope that somebody thinking about this, and just because rainy season gonna start, we gonna get some flooding. It's coming, it's imminent. But at least if they're thinking outside the box, we might be able to divert all that flood water to a catchment area, and at least we can use that water back into the system somewhere or somehow. So I mean, that's the idea. And the next thing too, one more thing before I go. We have these signs on the road, on the roadways, either to your left or to your right, depending on how you're driving. Some of these main signs and them should be going over the flyovers or over the highways. So at least you could, while you're driving, you don't have to take your eyes off the road to look left or right, but keep your eyes straight ahead. You understand? So I hope something like that too could work somewhere down the line, because sometimes you're turning, you wanted to be sign turning it between some advertising sign, and you're wondering, you have to be looking. Somebody be able to cross the road, be able to help people understand how some of the places I see some of that, but like some again we already don't really see those things. So we need signs going over the road itself. I think that might help in the direction of traffic and all these things. So that is just one of the ideas, and we got to start working on some. But we go come up with some great ones, And one more thing. Let me find out now, Lennox. If you have an idea, Lennox, I'm just using you as an example, right?
Yes.
And you have an idea. Which is you going to call if it's based on something that you wanted your councillor, the MP, but you see, you weren't able to access. I mean, I'm using you as a normal person in a village, so you won't have the access to these people, because you don't know the number. You had to call the office, and somebody else picking up. But if you have a one place where they could call, or one area that they could call, or something that they could get this information and filter it to the right people. A place of ideas. They need to set up somebody to get ideas coming in and then divert it into different directions. If the Prime Minister have to hear it, at least you go hear it, what it is you're coming up with, just to move the country forward, because there's a lot of ideas out there, but people don't know who to tell and where to channel it. You understand? So there's something that we could think about in the future,
Yeah.
So, I just thinking we have to move forward. All right, Lennox? So,
Yes, indeed.
pleasant good night again.
Well, I think you have raised a very valid point, that of course there is no specific place where, in fact, you could consider here, for example, what you have said, and it depends on the accident or the accidental watching tonight for, and then of a technocrat, for example, that may be responsible for signs, road signage. And as a result, they may glean from tonight. But suppose none of them are watching tonight, but they decide to watch tomorrow night. But you did not come up with that idea tomorrow night. You see how they would have missed, of course, an idea that may be useful to them to implement in order to make road safety much more efficacious in Trinidad and Tobago. So you're quite right. There should be some specialized and specific place where these ideas or initiative could be deposited and then of course disseminated to the appropriate agency or institution. So I take note of that, and I take of course note of your specific recommendation with respect to road traffic signs being overhead rather than of course on the sides that may deflect and attract attention and may create accident situations. A pleasant good night, welcome. I'm getting an echo in the background. So maybe if you can lower your device in the background.
Hello?
Yes, we're getting an echo in the background.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr. Lennox Smith.
Yes.
And hello to the gentleman there.
Yes.
Good night.
Lennox,
Yes.
the subject you was on, I want to go back on that subject again.
Go ahead.
That is with the jobs and the employment and thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, we had to get something straight here, something we doesn't look at. And I will let you all know. It's not only Venezuelan migrants we have here. It's not only them coming in through the border. We have to look at our border like the Mexican border.
Yeah.
The Mexican border is all kind of people going through, used to go through that border. Trinidad, right, come like the Mexico down here. Is, I believe it had down to Russian coming. You understand? Pakistani coming. Chinese coming. Japanese coming. Everybody coming in inside out here. But what I want to say is, Lennox, I try and see black people rob, shoot. Sometimes they kill people. You hear what I say? This initiative is for the black people because we all know black people get put in the back and they're robbing, and they're doing all kind of things. It's a woman going into prostitution, right? All kind of crime, like white collar crime, in order to survive. So we have to put our foot down. As I say, let us do like Trump. We get rid of the ones who here illegitimate. We get rid of them, it make it less. The law is there. The Prime Minister, or whoever in charge, the security, they could order that immigration and the police make massive search, we raiding. We have to put our foot down. Get the ones out of here. I am not specifically talking about Venezuelans. All migrants who here, get them out. It makes sense they here, get them out. The ones who have the permission, the ID card, which is totally different to ours, and that's like the work permit, they have the rights, but yet, although they have rights, they could pay the national insurance because people need to get their insurance money, and due to how for all these years they didn't have contributions, is a problem. All how we Trinidadians suffering, people reach the age and they don't have monies to pay them, right? And even when the locals get the employment, as I say, it must have a work staff of at least 80% Trini. They're paying the fair salary. They don't pay these people the salary. At least we know the locals will report. And you find them large sums of money, these businessmen, whether they be foreign investors or local businessmen, right, who feeding off of the country, let them pay large fines of, let's say, $20,000, $30,000. The country need money. The country The youths, the locals need jobs so they won't have to go into prostitution and all kind of thing. Another thing with these, well, I would say Venezuelans now, they're transferring money, wire transferring, right? We had to crack down and find out who doing the wire transfers for them. Money not staying in the country. They don't buy from the smaller businessmen. Who making the money is the larger businessmen with the large groceries, whereas the man with the little mini mart and parlor, they ain't going there. The man by the side of the road, they could tell you who's selling the little seasoning, blah, 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 the little pone and the cake. They do not contribute to the poor man on the ground who have the small business, who's self-employed and trying. And then on top of that, these Venezuelan migrants decide, okay, they're going to have self-employment. They're going among the locals, selling the thing, and the people that's buy, and we Trinidadians, we don't hold malice. We supporting, we just contribute, we just patronize, in other words, to these people. So all of that we have to look at. It have who seeing it because it have who out there, they know that they're selling the little thing. These people do not buy. They do not buy, right? Because they're looking for offers. In the large establishments, the groceries, you get a certain thing for 20 and so and so. Good? I mean, I am not saying that they must buy from the man on the ground. But oh gosh, a man selling a little heap of mango. If they could be tight, we had to be tight too. Right? You can't buy a little heap of mango from a poor man. We, the citizens, know a man trying with the little mango and the pomerac. They will contribute, you know, even if they want something, they will patronize a little something. Not these people, you get nothing from them. And if you're not nice to poor people, you're not nice. This is how we have to look at it. If you can't have a love in your heart for a humble person on the ground trying to make a living, you're not nice. That's all right. You're tight. We have to get tight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Yes, I think anything we had to learn from tonight's exercise is that the government and the citizens themselves have a responsibility, of course, to protect their own interests, and therefore, where this scenario occurs, particularly when it is as loose as we know it to be, it jeopardizes the opportunities for, of course, our locals and our young people in particular. Remember, I started by saying some 14,000 of them will be coming out from school, and I'm being conservative here because it's closer to 18,000, but let's say 14,000. That would meet, of course, the 14,000 last year and the year before and the year before that. So you understand that we have a mounting problem, consequential of a mounting number of persons that are seeking employment will not get, and worse yet, will not get because there are others who are prepared, of course, to accommodate persons because they are more concerned with the bottom line, their dollar, taking an advantage and exploiting, of course, immigrant or migrant workers. Go ahead, my friend. You have a comment to make?
I applaud that person who speaks just now.
All right.
You know why I applaud for? Because immigrant, say I got Chinese or Syrian. Oh, them have a franchise. We will support them franchise. We will go and buy from them, support them, help build them, make them millions. You open a business and see how much of them will come in the East-West corridor and support you. How much of them will come and buy from you?
Let's go to the line one time. A very important point indeed. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Lennox,
Yes.
I just want to ask Mr. Arima something. Mr. Arima, I see something taking place there in Venezuela and Guyana. Do you have any updates on what's going on with those two countries right now? Because it's looking like they're getting up for war or something. But I know we were seeing something like that was going to happen not too long ago. So if you have any information, you could just let me know what's going on because a lot of activities are seen taking place on the social media when it is concerned. But although they say I can't believe everything on the social media, but something is happening with those two countries right now. So if you have any update, you could please share. Thanks.
Yes, indeed. But see, that's the place you get all your information and where people, of course, cross-pollinate, so to speak, in order, of course, to be more informed. So thank you, of course, for directing through, of course, utilizing the medium of the corridor transformation to get to a person who has been focused on that particular issue in Venezuela, but of course other matters associated with Venezuela, which includes, of course, that border dispute that they have. I shouldn't say border dispute, it's more than that. It's a whole land is the dispute because Venezuela is claiming, of course, the Essequibo region, which it comprises some 2/3 of Guyana. That being as it may, of course, you were making a point there before. I gleaned from the amount of, well, the kinds of work that are available from what we have from the listing, the blue list. That lists, of course, the employers and what kind of employment opportunity they are providing, and then I will of course match it with the registration of persons and what they are looking for. Just to give you an idea as to a microcosm, of course, of what is required out there or what is happening out there, but more importantly to demonstrate that every job in Trinidad and Tobago has the matching request for such a job by locals, because this project is strictly local. They have to work with their ID cards, and of course we take note of all of that. Well, I want to say that I want to read that before, not before, but after you make your comment. Do you have a comment to make?
Yeah, as I saying just now, how much of them is come and support us in the East-West corridor or in our business? Is we kind is come and support us. Still, because Trinidad and Tobago people are different. I feeling for Syrian food, I go and eat Syrian food. I feeling for Chinese food, I go and eat Chinese food. You understand? And them can't say a day them feeling for Creole style food and come and eat Creole style food. Not a day. I do business and I never see a Syrian come by me, I buy. I never see.
Lean on my side. If you have to lean
I
on my
never
side.
see certain race coming and buy from me. Its majority is my people, and East Indian percentages come and buy from me. So we support them, billing them, and majority, plenty of them food do not have taste. And we still support them. I've been real. They don't have taste, no proper seasoning, and everything. But somehow people just like the fried chicken and the fried chicken and the chips and them kind of things. They just love it. But I like it. They don't really support us, so. And that's what I had to say about that.
All right. Well, thanks very much, of course, for that observation. Of course, I know it is very familiar with most of us. We prefer foreign tastes as opposed to our local, and I think that crystallizes that particular argument. But let me read from the blue sheet, because we have color coded, of course, the various, what I consider to be information that we have been recording. So the blue sheet will, of course, identify the businesses, as well as the kind of the kind of jobs that are available. And here, of course, we have of course cashier, we have of course supermarket cleaners, we have assistant chef, chef. We have of course mechanic, we have of course cashier, we have drivers, we have night driver as well, so people driving the night alone. We have of course plumbers, we have painting or painters, we have grocery workers. Well, again, let me see. In this list we have of course yes, cleaners, workers, mechanics, etc. Right, so that is basically what we have just started, so you would appreciate that this will get lengthier and longer as we, of course, capture those persons who have employment opportunities. So that's the blue list. Let's go to this list. Here we have persons who are looking for work. And they are, of course, multi-skilled persons, nursing. We have, who again? We have plumbing, right? So we are right in place. We have people who want cleaning. People have multi-skills, plumbing, nursing, cleaning. All right, basically that is what is being repeated. We have, what again? This is what? Oh, and we have, of course, yes, as I told you, we have an information center where we are not only is the employment agency aspect to bring potential employers in line or in contact with employees, but we also have a community welfare initiative as well, where we will direct and help in the application, whether it's food card, whether it's of course services provided by the social welfare division, housing, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So there is a list here as well, the green list. You wouldn't make it out because, as I said, once it is in green, because our background is green, you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't see the green. Maybe we should put a different color here so you'll be able to see it. But that is that. And another very important part of it is that we will have a listing of contractors from the area that will of course register with us, and we will of course try to put contract opportunities with of course persons who are principals or providers of these contracts, whether it's state, whether it's private, etc. That is where we are. In addition to that, we are looking as well as businesses. These contractors may get a contract, but they don't have the financial wherewithal to begin. We will, of course, link them up as well with financial institutions, whether they bank, credit unions, or SBDC, as the case may be, both state and private. Let's go to the line. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor. This is the final call. President, good night.
Yes, Lennox. I call to find out from Miss Arima what's going on next door.
Yes.
Eh?
Yes.
You want to really know what's going on next door? Oh, God. I promise people that I ain't going to give no information on them people next door, you know. But let me give you a little hint.
I hear you back and I laugh, so I know you're raring and peaked to give us. Go ahead.
Lennox, I ain't hearing you too good, you know, but like I hear you say back and I laugh.
I hear you back and I laugh when you say, and then it means therefore you're being cynical and so on, but you want to give us the information, so give us. Go ahead.
All right. So what's going on? Let me see how short I can make it because time coming on here, Lennox,
Yes,
and I
yes.
make plenty calls.
Yeah, and we are there,
So
in fact.
what it is going on? The truth is, the man who talked the other day, the Chinese man,
Yeah,
who tell all you about the pipeline and the water over there,
yes.
what the Chinese man saying is truth. Now we know the young Chinese man does lie bad, but it's not all time people does lie. You have to check it out. So you see that Esikobo or Esikibo,
Yeah.
right? The man get a Russian vessel, as far as I understand, and he have it together with his military guarding the waters. He don't give nobody nothing. He ain't your friend, nothing can pass, nor sail in that Essequibo water. The International Criminal Court tell him to hold up this election that he going to have, or where he going to put a governor in a state that he call Guyana Essequibo, that is the same land he fighting for.
Yeah, you
He
rename it,
done
yeah.
an exit and calling it that, Guyana Essequibo. In Spanish, Essequibo Guyana. So he fighting for land, he fighting for the oil and gas and the water. He say that Guyana selling the oil and he not getting anything from it. It have a dispute, nothing is settled, but they doing as they want. So the bad gangman get he back up from Russia and they helping to guard the water. As you all know, some time ago there, a couple months, a vessel was leaving the waters where they was transporting fuel in a vessel, and the guards went up and let them know, look, you all inside our waters, get out. So once you come and you graze on the edge of his waters, that man don't make joke. He does take in big ship, cruise ship, anything, and you just have to pay. You have to pay a big tax. He does kidnap. He kidnap you. And he bring you in, and you have to pay big money to get out. So just what the Chinese man said, the two of them must be talk already, because that Chinese man is the partner. And he must be done tell them where he have the ambassador here listening to all what going on, what the Prime Minister said that she's going to send the Energy Minister to Grenada, and they would like to have a pipeline maybe from Guyana. No, they don't talk. He does deliver message and he talking.
All
Right?
Thank you very
So
much.
these things we have to look at it. That is what we want, but that is what that may not happen so easy, because that man not easy. Right now, he's so bad. Right now, he in Russia. He and Putin and the Chinese man enjoying military parade that it had today in Russia. So understand how dread the man is.
All right,
He ain't no
that's
friendly person. He don't care whether he is woman, you're nice, you're kind. He don't care about nobody. He don't like you. You're talking bad because he crazy, eh? You're talking bad, he don't deal with you.
I hear you.
So this
Thank
is
you.
what I have to see.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Of course, we have come to the end, but only to say that the Chinese man, of course, I know the Chinese man she's referring to in the main, because I know that China is involved in the Russian scenario, but the Chinese man, of course, is our local Chinese man, former, for about 3 weeks, Prime Minister. I talk about Stuart Young. But something I observed today that I mentioned on the ground report, I think is worthy in closing, of course, tonight's program, and of course consistent with the issue of Venezuela, is that I believe as well that there is, of course, a conspiracy theory, or there's a school of thought that the Young came out there breaking all protocols, because, of course, as you know, Penelope Beckers is the political, well, for all intents and purposes, the political as well as the leader of government opposition, that is to say, opposition in the parliament. But yet still Young came out and speak. And there is a school of thought that says that Sir Young came out there to appease his Venezuelan counterparts, because of course he would have made certain commitments, and it is possible that his life may be in jeopardy because of course he has not been able to deliver, so he had to come out there and speak in such a way so as to placate and to of course give some what I consider to be amorphous or illusionary, should I say, consideration or certification or convincing those that he would have interact with and would have engaged, of course, in certain transactions, money would have passed, of course, consideration had to be money, and the people obviously will be looking for delivery or their money back. So that is why I say that is a theory that is out there. That is a school of thought, and therefore Young had to break all protocols and preempt, of course, the sitting opposition leader in order to, of course, make his part clear that it's not his fault, because lives may be in jeopardy. That's all I'm saying. We will see how that unfolds. Of course, we have come to the end. Let me just ask my colleague to give us some parting words as we, of course, conclude tonight's exercise. Go ahead, sir. Any parting words?
Well, it was a nice topic today concerning.
Oh yes, a very, very, very informative. Yes.
It was very interesting topic today. But our latest news will hit me there. We have to be very, very careful. If the Chinese man is going out there, my government have to be very, very careful, because they don't know what could happen. And, we had to pray. We nation had to pray, because,
yeah, we may well be as the grass in the crossfire of these elephants, and the next thing, of course, we ourselves.
We had to pray because we,
right.
I all I tell you, we had to pray.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, thank you very much, of course. Don't forget that tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself. But of course, tomorrow night is Summertime night. Of course, it is my night off, so to speak. And I will be, of course, at Spargo. So those of you who want to join me, fine, on Prince Street. But I will be there. And of course, people, I'm going to have a wonderful time, because we'll be back on Saturday. After all, they said that the ground report is really a program. Not the ground report, the corridor transformation is a program that is conducted 8 days a week. I don't know how they get that, but it says Sunday to Sunday. Check it out, you'll see it's really 8 days. But that means as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and see you, of course. And maybe most appropriate to end is, of course, the late great King Austin's, and of course the whole question of progress.
Today, when I look around in the world, what do I see? I see footprints that man have left on the sand while walking through time. I see fruits of our ambition, figment of our imagination, and I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is plain to see, universally this land is not bountiful as it was, simply because in his quest for success, nothing stands in man's way. All rivers run dry, soon the birds will fly, the mountains will be no longer high. And when I really think of it, I just wonder why, oh why. I see charity deplored, equal rights totally ignored, wisdom and ingenuity working in accord, simply to afford such inventions as thermonuclear warfare and environmental warfare. And I wonder now, where do we go from here? Prophets everywhere gaze upon the horizon and declare that judgment will come, as the savage hands of unscrupulous men defile everything pass by. Time is running out as we eat and drink, species at the brink of being extinct. And I think no one can deny that the price of progress is high, real high. I see consciousness as built As today, we live recklessly. Money make egos inflate and thereby create a turbulent state. I see a struggle between the sexes, new hang-ups and old complexes. Now the question is, right in context, what